Is denim buoyant?
This denim is very...
It's waterproof denim.
Special brand of denim. What's wrong, babe? You've barely touched your joat. I have 50,000. 50,000 IUs, I think are the units, of the sun flowing through my veins, David.
Oh, your super sun pills. It is confirmed that Chase is not a vampire.
No, yeah. Doctor said, hey, everything's looking in tip-top shape except these very bad vitamin D levels, and we need you to take... like a Boktai, the sun is in your hands level of sun dosage.
Kojima branded vitamin D pills.
Yeah. Yeah. Sun Bright Man came and gave me so much dosage of vitamin D. And it's an experience. I feel like the pod is going to be a little bit different today.
You got some sun energy in you.
I have the power. The powers of the sun is in my hands, David.
Is it in your hands or just inside of you now? Are you the whole power of the sun?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I feel like it's not really going to translate that much into video games, to be honest. But I also feel like it is kind of the source of the problem to begin with. My video game obsession, you know?
Oh, the lack of sun. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I feel like I would have to like radically change my lifestyle to remedy this without the 50,000 IUs of sun power that I'm taking now.
It is very hard to game outside, but well, maybe that's what Apple Vision Pro is for. Go outside, game with your Apple Vision Pro in the sun.
And then I can show everyone my really cool tan lines from my Apple Vision Pro that will inevitably show up. I'm at the park. I'm playing Boktai, guys.
You're streaming at the park.
What's up, guys? Here at the park. Playing my Boktai emulator just the way Kojima intended.
Outside in the sun, here I am, Boktai. Let's go.
Everyone's just walking around this strange man, just holding his hands up in the park.
Can you feel it? I have the sun.
Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful power of gaming and the sun. My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
And here we are, back again. I feel like it's been a while. Again, we are one day off from where we normally record. It is currently Tuesday. Man, it just feels like there's so much time in those extra 24 hours.
You really packed a lot of games in that 24 hours you need to talk about, huh?
I feel like I really like chewed on the games that I was playing. I'm only playing really 2 right now.
2 games.
But man, it just, I felt like, I think it's just muscle memory at this point that I get to Monday night and I start like find myself walking around the house just like, well, the thing about Yakuza Infinite Wealth is that, and then there's no microphone there and I don't know what to do with myself.
How will people know what I think? It's a problem.
It's a problem.
Maybe you just need to continually record yourself so you can get those moments of just rambling on tape.
That's what
the
people
stream of
need
consciousness.
That's what the listeners need is less structured discussions about video games.
It's the nouveau version of streaming. Instead of video, it's just auditory streaming, and it's just you, stream of consciousness, talking about games.
That's what the Apple Vision Pro gives you. Actually, is like it's a new form of streaming where it's just going straight into your brain. You're just getting my like mushy thought soup as I'm trying to pull together my feelings about video games.
I hate that sentence. Mushy thought soup.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good. That's what Elon's trying to do to us. You see, he's implanting people now.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I think I'm going to pass on that one, I think.
Yeah. I'm good. I don't need this humankind revolution madness going on here. This Deus Ex.
I would love to delay Deus Ex a little bit if possible.
We're already there in a lot of ways, but man, it seems to be speeding straight towards it.
The hypercapitalist ways for sure, but also if I could get some like fresh legs though, that would be sick. If I could jump up to like a whole building, that would be so cool. I'm so ready for fake legs, David.
Just start a brand called Fresh Legs.
Fresh legs. We got fresh ones out
legs.
Here. Come get your fresh legs.
You were just talking about you want some fresh hands too, right?
I think these ones are okay right now, but I am sure that I will need like a fresh pair of hands.
Mm-hmm.
Little robo hand.
Swap them out.
Yeah. That would be cool. I would be into that.
Swap them out, grease them up, good to go.
Now it's gaming time, baby.
Now we're back in business now. You just crush the controller.
Swap, grease, game.
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't like that.
Hey, have you been playing video games, David?
I have been. I've been playing mostly two games.
Okay.
Games. You can call me Will because I am still playing Liza P.
Why? Okay, hold on. I can call you Will because you're still playing Lies of P.
You can call me Will because
I am. Oh my God, David. Jesus.
Still playing Liza P.
Every week you come with such a wild pun or portmanteau for Lies of P.
I got to keep you on your toes.
It's working.
That's what I do.
am fully on my tippies right now.
Fully on my tippies. Once again, really don't like that, but here we are. Anyways,
sure.
Lies of P. It's still really good. I really enjoy this. Another thing I talked about last week, how this game really streamlines some things that are kind of, I think, needlessly burdensome in other Soulsborne games. I really love that they put your ergo right outside the boss door instead of making you go back in there and scamper around and try not to get hit so you can grab it so that you don't get like one-shotted before you get it back again and just lose it all. That's really nice. It does not add anything to the game for me when I do that. It's just like meta progression needs to be maintained and I'm just scrambling in Soulsborne games when I'm doing that. And it's just, it's lets me focus more on the fight, which is really what I'm there for. But yeah, scooting along. I'm at the swamp now. I'm swamping and stomping.
Great.
It is a swamp.
It is a swamp. I feel like that is when the game starts to twist a little bit from what it initially is to what it is moving towards. Like there's stuff happening there that's like, okay, this isn't just puppets and machines and shit.
Yeah, and you get the portrait of yourself or the human version of you, and his nose starts growing on the wall, and then your hair starts growing. Yeah. Did you notice that part? His hair grows longer.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, his hair gets longer and like his face changes a little bit.
He gets a little taller. Very strange.
A little taller. It's very bizarre. Yeah, it's like something they really don't call out directly. Like you could just go the whole game without seeing any of that.
Yeah.
But it's such a bizarre experience to see when that happens. And like, I don't know this for sure, but I think that at least the portrait is tied to when you lie, that your like nose grows out. And so I do wonder if the physical changes are also tied to that, that if you lie less, he doesn't like grow in any way.
I lied once to be nice. That's it.
Yes. I like the way that they do that, honestly. Like it could have been so easy to make like lying or telling the truth, like the good or bad route. And that like they do position it at certain times in the game where it's like, I should probably lie to this person right now. Yeah.
Like poor Euhenny when she makes that guy those gloves and he just trashes them. Like, oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah. Like you don't need to know. It's okay. Like maybe it would be morally correct to tell them exactly what happened or like the time when there's like somebody dangerous who's like, hey, do you know of anywhere I could go hang out?
Nope.
No, I don't. Definitely don't go to Hotel Krot.
You little
that's
weirdo.
Not a cool place for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that they position it as like not a clear good or bad thing. It's just like how you choose to engage with this thing that the robots are supposedly not able to do.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I love what this game is doing. It's still very engaging. I love the new metal swamp level. I like the little spin they put on it. And it feels like, a Soulsborne game does need a poison swamp at some point. It is, I think, a requirement. But it's still really enjoying it. The combat is still tight.
Yeah.
I'm interested in where the story is going from this point. I think it's getting a little bit more interesting and engaging than just steampunk Pinocchio, R-rated steampunk Pinocchio, I should say.
Yeah.
And yeah, just still really impressed by how well it is crafted for like a first time studio publishing a game, right? So yeah, really great. Still loving that one. I've also been playing, the other game I've been playing the most of right now is Inscryption.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Where are you playing this?
I'm playing it on the PlayStation.
Okay,
PlayStation 5.
This is the like kind of horror game that came out. I think this was 2 years ago now.
I think so. It's the spooky deck building roguelike where you essentially get abducted and put into a cabin and are essentially kept there against your will by by a D&D dungeon master gone wrong is kind of what it feels like. This man who's just kind of making you play this game where he controls what is going on. Very engaging and engrossing game just right off the bat. Love the art style, how you just see his spooky eyes, the noise for how his voice is so good, just like this low inhuman grumbling, essentially droning almost. So good. Very evocative. Really puts you into a certain headspace of, I am in danger with this person. This person is scary. This person holds all the power over me, and I just got to play along. That's the only way to get through this, is to go through what he's challenging me with. And I really enjoy the card battling in this one. It's a really fun way of doing meta progression, is that, whenever you die, you get to create a really powerful card with your name on it. I have a David, I have a Chase, and I have a Chavid so far.
Hell yeah.
So we're gonna mob this guy. We're gonna get him in the end. But so far we've all died.
That's funny. Yeah.
And I love how you get to go around the cabin and solve little mysteries as well. It feels like an escape room mixed with a deck building roguelike.
Yeah, totally.
Which is, and I love me an escape room. I know you probably know that.
Yeah.
Just in reality, I love escape rooms. And I think that they really blend those two aspects of the game together really well, especially with the cards that will talk to you and give you hints and tell you what to do. And like, oh wow, this is really deep and a really nice, interesting spin on the deck building roguelike genre. That is, I would never have thought of doing something like this. Like, oh, I can get up from the table and do something cool. And this guy is just looking at me at whatever I'm doing in this cabin, and it's just me and him, and it's like flashing lights outside and so spooky. Really interesting to see where this goes and what else and what other combos I can start doing with these decks. Sometimes I just really fuck up the deck. I'm still kind of trying to grok how to build it. I understand how to play, but getting how to build the deck is something that I still need to learn to do a little bit better in this game. But I've gotten to, I think, the 3rd level so far. Yeah. It's good.
It is a game that is exceptionally worth beating the main dude.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Got it.
It's very, very good.
Got to beat the main
I think
dude.
you will really, really enjoy what happens when you sort of like quote unquote beat that run. I would love to talk so much more about this game.
I'm intrigued. I got ideas about what could happen now.
It's exceptional. I think like that the game is just so much fun.
Yeah, it's definitely probably going to be what I play after I get off the pod with you today.
Sure. Yeah. It's a very like bite-sized game, so you can play just little bits of it, and it's like totally fun.
A run is good. Like and it's one of those, it has the Hades effect of one more run, one more run that no other deck builder has really gotten me into, because they are so much shorter of a run typically. It's a little bit more streamlined than a Slay the Spire or a Monster Train. Those ones you can get a little bit more of a satisfying payoff with the deck that you build. You can really get some synergy going, I think, compared to this one, at least so far for me. But I do like how much quicker it is. And just I love the spooky horror vibes to this game. It's really well done.
The tone is just immaculate. It is so good and so well done. It just like nails that like kind of creepy, you're not really sure, like this seems to be dangerous, but also like I'm not being attacked right now. Like oh God, it's very good.
Until you lose and his creepy hands come across the table at you.
God,
hate it.
So frightening.
I hate it.
I will say that like it does get easier to build good decks as you go on. I think the game kind of wants you to eventually beat it. Yeah. And I think the farther you get, the easier it is to make just like shit that does feel like, okay, I'm like really crushing right now. Yeah. Whereas like the first couple runs, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to beat this game. This seems so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I was still probably getting told how to play the game up until like my second to last run. Yeah. So I think I just now have been shown all the mechanics, because they do like every run, they show you like another thing you can do. And I think it's like 4 or so times until you really get all the info about how to play, all the things you can do to play, I should say.
Totally. Yeah. It's a very good game. I'm excited for you to keep playing this.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to beat this one. This one's very engaging. I love it.
Hell yeah. That's cool. Video games, man.
They are good.
They're so good.
They're so good.
All right. That's been the pod. If you want to interact with the show, you can do that at podtimism.com.
Chase, what have you been playing?
I've been playing mainly 2 video games. I would love to tell you about them.
Let's hear it.
As suggested last week, I am playing Yakuza, or Like a Dragon, I should say, Infinite Wealth. This is the new Like a Dragon game, or it's sort of in the Yakuza series. It's made by the same people, and they called the series Like a Dragon in Japan, called it Yakuza here. So the naming is a little up in the air, but it's the new one. It's the new video game that they put out. This is the second game in the kind of rebrand that they've done, where their new protagonist is Ichiban Kasuga, a new guy. Most of the other Yakuza games were centered around Kiryu Kazuma, who, like, if you've seen any of the Yakuza games, you've probably seen Kiryu's face before.
It's a very serious looking man.
Yeah, very serious, stern looking dude. And it's it's sort of bizarre because I feel like you see the cover of a Grand Theft Auto game and you see like dudes with guns shooting each other and like tough guys and stuff. And like those dudes are in the game, right? Like tough guys shooting each other are in there. And like Kiryu is kind of a serious guy visually, but he's so regularly being like, I would actually love to sing karaoke. And I love being nice to grandmas and stuff like that. Like he is so not that person.
He's a real part of the community still.
Honestly, yes. I hadn't clicked with a lot of those games, the Yakuza games up till Like a Dragon. And I can't say it was because I was uninterested, because I was enjoying most of the stuff. I think a lot of it came down to the frequency and the way that the battles play out.
Sure.
The battles are essentially I shouldn't say but like they're mostly a beat 'em up. Like you get into battle and it's like you are supposed to kind of hit a couple of like, square, triangle combos and just like beat dudes up. And it's hard for me to say why, but my brain just kind of like tired of that at a certain point. I kind of like was like, okay, I get it. And it does take up a lot of the game. And so I think for a lot of those games, I would get like 5 hours into them and just kind of put them down because I like couldn't play more of them, which is in contrast to my experience with Like a Dragon, which was like, I have to keep playing this game. Just like so excited, so interested, having such a good time. And it didn't hurt that like the Like a Dragon games were introducing Ichiban Kasuga, because like he's a new guy. You're kind of getting in on the ground floor.
Yeah.
You don't have to know as much about like the Yakuza series. They definitely absolutely lean on the history of the series. Like there's a lot of stuff going on of like reoccurring characters that had been in other games. But even still, I was playing Like a Dragon a couple of years ago and was like, I am understanding what's happening here. This is none of it's like going over my head. Or at least not that I noticed, right? There might have been references that I didn't catch, but I understood what Ichiban was going through and like what was happening in his story. And something that I really appreciated about that game was the way that it was treating Ichiban and also the cast of characters that they had in there. A lot of it centered around like kind of washed up dudes for the most part.
Sure.
Like, people who are either like, jobless or houseless or anything like that. And like those were the heroes in that game. Yeah. And Ichiban too, like he was a guy who took a fall for the Yakuza when he was very young, spent a lot of his life in prison. And I think it was like 16 years later or something like that, got out as like a 40-year-old man and was like trying to re-enter society. And like that's challenging, right? They I think accurately showed that like this is not going to be easy for him. And like he also got a little bit like short. He got the short end of the stick with
he got a little bit short.
How his he got the short end of the stick with how the Yakuza treated him after he got out. But all that said, I think it's like he's just such a compelling character. He is so optimistic and he's such a bright personality that it is like, it's so hard not to want to play as him because he's just like amazing to be around.
Sure.
Just endlessly hopeful in all of the games that he's playing. Like people in the game will constantly be like, dude, this is so idealistic or like naive, but like, and he's like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to go like do this because it's the right thing to do. And not in a way that's like, I'm a big tough guy. Like he's definitely using violence to solve the problems, right? Like he just goes up and beats people up and that's the way to like fix a problem. But
sounds good.
Yeah. It's like, that feels more like the influence of video games than like who Ichiban is specifically.
And characterizing him.
But yeah, I just loved watching him as a character in that game. And I think that game as a whole is really good. And so I was interested to see like what happens in this one, because I think for the most part, like a lot of stuff got tied up, like the loose ends got tied up in the last game. So I'm like, what happens now? Like where is his story go? The first like couple hours of Infinite Wealth it was such a joy to play through. It's essentially Ichiban is working at this like temp agency sort of. It's called Hello Work. And essentially what it does is like someone will come in and be like, hey, I want to find work. Like, can you place me somewhere? Mm-hmm. And what he was doing was he got this reputation that he could find work for ex-Yakuza people who wanted to like get out of the Yakuza and just like, you know, go on the straight and narrow, right? And so they would show up, and you see this play out a couple times where he's like, oh, it looks like you worked for this family. And, you know, essentially trying to allude to the fact that he knows that they used to work for the Yakuza and like, what kind of work can I possibly give this person now? Mm-hmm. And so the first few hours are just him doing that. And it's so amazing. He literally gets up in the morning and says, another day to try and make a difference, and then goes to work at the temp page. Like,
what a guy.
Just amazing, right? He's such a good dude. And I won't like speak on specifics of what kind of like throws the rest of the plot into action, but for one reason or another, he has to go to Hawaii, and that's where a lot of the game takes place, mm-hmm. and a lot of the plot takes place. And so you find yourself as Ichiban in Hawaii and meeting up with like new characters that you're interacting with, like new party members. You kind of temporarily leave the people that you are really close with in the first game in Japan, and then you yourself just go to Hawaii. I don't think it's really ruining a lot to say this, but Kiryu also is someone who you meet up with pretty quickly in Japan.
Cool.
Which I think is also really cool, and narratively and thematically, I think it like really pays off the farther you get into the game. And again, I'm not going to really spoil how, but I really do think that's like a very cool thing to do. And especially like in this game where Ichiban is like the main character, right? Mm-hmm. He's the focus of this game. And so it's interesting to see Kiryu from that lens and see kind of where his faults are and like where he's being held back. Whereas Ichiban is like totally head empty. I just want to solve this problem and do good for people,
sure.
You know? So all that's really good. I kind of alluded to this before, but the combat is really different than what it is in the base Yakuza games. It's similar to what it was in Like a Dragon, the first one, but it is more turn-based combat. It is much closer to just regular turn-based combat, but it has enough of a twist on it that I do think it actually is pretty interesting, where whenever you get into a fight, you'll just like roll up to some random people on the street who are like, hey, fuck you. And then they like start a fight or whatever. And you do that. And essentially what happens is whoever is, you know, the highest speed goes first. And there's like a little circle around where they are. And you can choose to, you know, either just do like a regular attack or use some kind of special attack, which is essentially kind of this game's version of magic. Mm-hmm. And if someone's within that circle, you get a little bit of a bonus if you attack them. If not, you can just like go up and hit someone by clicking attack. And there's a lot of like positioning that becomes important in that, where, you know, if you hit someone into another person, it will do more damage. Or if you hit someone into one of your allies, they'll do kind of a follow-up attack. And it just like, it's really fun. And I think after having played so much of Octopath for 80 hours or whatever, like I really appreciate when they can make turn-based combat something that feels always like you are having to figure out a puzzle, or like that you're always kind of on your toes and doesn't ever really become just like a total slog or like rote, you know? Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate the battle, but I think the stuff that I'm here for and the stuff that is really drawing me along is the story and the thematic stuff that is happening in this game. The story is really fun. It's really like exciting, and also gives you plenty of room to do these weird little side quests. Like, I think that's something that these Yakuza games are known for, is just how like bizarre and strange all of their side quests are. Yeah. There's like a dating app that you can fully just spin off into for like hours at a time.
There you go. Why not?
Where it's like it is RPG-ified being on Tinder, where it's like you have to say the right thing and like it in a short enough amount of time. And if it, like you do like a button prompt to say the correct thing, and if you don't, you like fuck it up. It goes wrong. One of the things I spent just way too much time on this week is that there is this Dondoko Island that is, it's just Animal Crossing. They built Animal Crossing into this game, where you go and like have to like make your island better, essentially. Build new shit, unlock different parts of the island, do different shit. It's so much fun. Like it's sort of a shock that they're able to build in so many different kinds of games into this game, and a lot of them are like pretty good. Yeah. Like that Animal Crossing version of this game is pretty good, and also like hilarious because it is so the antithesis of Animal Crossing. It's like not cute and fun. Sure. It's like you're building like huge concrete buildings on your island, and there's like constantly invaders showing up that you just have to go like beat up and kick them off your island.
Dang.
It's really, really funny. I think the game nails its tone of just like, it feels like you're playing Ichiban's game specifically. Like it's all just kind of water under the bridge. It's all good. Even if it is serious, like there's room for fun and playfulness, which is great. It's like a really nice retreat or salve to the world being kind of fucked. It's really nice. And that's not to say this game, it doesn't take a lot of shit seriously. I think that like their look at how challenging it can be to live in Hawaii is honest and real, and like doesn't shy away from the fact that like there's a lot of homeless people here, right?
Sure.
Like, and like, how did that happen, right? The game does not say, doesn't it suck that people are just lazy and can't get jobs? It's like, no, it's like really fucking expensive here. And like, how does one find themselves in that situation? I feel like they're very empathetic towards that struggle in a way that I kind of wasn't expecting them to be. Not that these games mishandle that shit, but I feel like it is one thing to look at sort of the internal comings and goings of Japan versus like going over and checking out like Hawaii or the United States or anything like that. There's a part of me that I was worried, like, are they going to totally fuck this up? But yeah. I think for there's definitely missteps here and there, but I think for the most part, like it's pretty empathetic and pretty real with a lot of the ways that it's depicting the people in the game.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. I really appreciate their takes on a lot of this stuff. All that to say, I think that the theming of it is coming together the farther I play through this game. And I think a lot of it is pushing on what was good in my experience about the Like a Dragon games, and just taking it farther, right? I think it has a lot to say about masculinity in a way that I kind of just don't expect a big RPG to say, right? I think it is important that in the first one, again, the people who they show in your party that are like your friends and the heroes are people that oftentimes like traditional masculinity kind of casts aside. A lot of like people who, you know, aren't quote unquote like alpha males or shit like that, or people who aren't rich or, you know, have a fucking sweet car or, you know, have a ton of girlfriends or anything like that. A lot of these guys are not that. Ichiban is like not good at talking to women. A lot of these people are like, don't have jobs, or that they're like, they got aged out of their career or something. And this one does the same thing. I think it shines more of a light on places or people that I think get the short shrift as far as like value go. In traditional masculinity, right? Like chronically ill people or terminally ill people. Or people who are doing kind of like menial jobs or something. One of the first members of your party, and I will speak in broad generalizations here, but they're like an Uber driver, right? Like that's their job that they're doing at the time that you meet them. And I think that on its own that would be cool. But I really do think that it pushes in some areas that I really appreciate. I feel like I see this a lot online where people will say like the left needs an Andrew Tate or a Jordan Peterson or something like that, you know?
What?
Just like the progressives need a response to that person, right? Or to that type of person, right? And I think I get the knee-jerk reaction there of like, we should have somebody who is also sticking up for like more progressive and like better values, right? Rather than, you know, just leaving the vacuum open to these total shitheads who like for very much take advantage of people who are looking for how to be a man, you know? And I don't really agree that that's a thing that's possible for like progressive circles. You know, I don't think that like the opposite of Jordan Peterson is just like another guy. You know, I don't think that
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Like you can point to specific people that I think are good and cool, but I oftentimes when I look at those dudes and kind of the racket that they're running around, like taking advantage of men who feel like they aren't good enough or that they need some kind of like guidance. The opposite of that, I feel like a lot of the time is not a guy, it's a community, right? Like the places where I see people embodying what I consider to be like progressive and open and empathetic masculinity are a group of people rather than one dude who's like, I've got it fucking figured out, man.
Yeah. Telling people how to think is not
it's
just
that's
masculinity
like
thing to do anyways.
Totally not. Yeah, I think that like a hallmark, and again, like I'm not here to tell you what is or isn't masculine, but a thing that I see that as valuable when you're looking at like how to point your ship, what direction to go, and find out like what is a helpful way to exist as like a masculine person. Something that I find very helpful is like seeking out community and being empathetic and being vulnerable with people that you care about. And that's just like so antithetical to the kind of the racket that these like, manosphere guys are running. Because it is that like, I don't really know what else to call it. They're mostly preying on people for their own benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so point there is that it's hard for me to imagine one dude embodying that stuff, one person being the arbiter or the shield bearer for that way of thinking. And so I think it's really cool that in Yakuza, it is doing exactly that. It's showing you this community that is being built over the course of the game. And like notably, a lot of the people who you become the closest with in Yakuza start as enemies. They start as people who like want to do you harm or like have done you harm.
Sure.
in some instances where like somebody has really tried to fuck Ichiban over, but because he is like such a empathetic and vulnerable dude, he's like, yeah, that's fine. I understand why they wanted to do that. It was probably fucked up and I don't like that, but like they're not beyond redemption, like that's not something that I can't get over. And if they're willing to come with me and help me, like, great. I want to give them that chance.
Yeah. Reminds me of a lot of new age, like anime protagonists, like shonen anime protagonists.
Yeah. It's not too far off. Right. And I think that there's a line between being like putting yourself on the line a lot of the times where it's like, there is some danger to that of not being able to take care of yourself. But I think that Ichiban is able to kind of embody the part of it where he is able to tell them what he didn't like, but is also open to like, but yeah, you're still a person. Yeah. You're not like, I still think you're very valuable. And a lot of the people in the game are like, dude, that's fucking crazy. I can't believe you would do that. And then they end up grouping up with him because they're like, I can't help it. Like he's such a good person. And so you start to build this like community of people who embody those ideas that they also are like, they start to say, well, we need to be able to save this person because like I was given a chance. So this person should be given a chance too.
Yeah.
It's just really good. It's really wonderful to see that kind of stuff. And I think that that's a hard thing to communicate in a video game, let alone anywhere else, right?
Yeah, the power of forgiveness.
The power of forgiveness, the power of empathy and like vulnerability and being open and not having this like very rigid definition of what masculinity means. Like I feel like I see that a lot with some of these like manosphere dudes of like, they're very happy to define exactly what masculinity is or isn't.
Sure.
And that ends up like boxing people in. Right. And that sucks. Like that's not a healthy way to live. I think that like you should be able to have like a very broad and malleable version of what that means so that like you can have a lot of people included in that group. I just think it's really cool that they're able to like hit that tone. And especially as you get farther on and especially with Kiryu, who like I think does sometimes carry a lot of the more damaging like parts of masculinity, not against anyone else. Yes. Yeah. There's the isolation that I think still kind of plagues a lot of like ideas around masculinity with like, I have to do this on my own. I have to be strong on my own and like not burden people. Right. I feel like you hear that a lot in people trying not to like hurt other people is like, oh, I don't want to burden them with my problems, or I don't want to burden them with like asking for help or something like that. And it's just, it's so damaging to the person. It can be so hurtful to your own sort of well-being. And I think importantly, and in this game, you see how much that is not true, right?
Yeah.
How important it can be to do that and let your friends and the people who care about you like carry you a little bit, like hold some of the water for you. And like I said, Kiryu in other places is incredibly defiant of some of those standards. Like he can be an incredibly soft person and really does seem to not really care about like his status or like, you know, how much money he's making or anything like that. But he does embody some of those other stuff. And so I think it's cool to see them kind of criticize that in a way that doesn't feel like Kiryu fucking sucks. It's just like, he's a guy who has these beliefs and also has to challenge them for his own well-being and the well-being of the people around him. I will say the game, as good as it is about talking about masculinity, is like its female characters are written like just dog shit. Dude. They're not good. Like,
you can't do it all. You just can't do it all.
No, I guess not. Like it is, I can't say it's like fully egregious, but I think the writing relies on like very kind of like tired tropes, right?
Sure.
There are like two female characters in the game that like meet up with each other and like join the party. And like, of course, the first thing they do is they're catty with each other and like see each other as like threats. I'm like, that's so tired of a trope, man.
Yeah.
So unnecessary. And so I think like this is definitely a dudes rock video game. Like it's definitely about dudes and about dude stuff. And I think that can be like valuable, right? Like I don't think that there needs to be more representation of men in general, but I think there does need to be representation of healthy men in a way that doesn't feel like pandering. This game does not feel like pandering to me. It's just like, yeah, Ichiban's fucking cool and these people are good and they're helping each other. Yeah. Like, okay, perfect.
Bring some more Ted Lasso into these games.
A little bit. Yeah, it is. It does kind of like approach that genre. So yeah, I think that's all really good. But yeah, it does come with the caveat that like these dudes are solving their problems a lot of the time with punches. Yeah. And also the women are not particularly well written. So it is imperfect in that way, but I do still appreciate what they're kind of showing and doing with, you know, the men in their video game and how they all interact. It helps that this game is kind of long. There are a lot of instances for them to be able to do that and a lot of different characters that they can show you and how they sort of like reflect and mirror either Ichiban or Kiryu in this game. It's really good. It's very bizarre that this is the game that it is. I think it has the kind of like mechanical depth and breadth that you find in something like GTA, but like, man, it couldn't be more different than that game.
Sure.
I think that like GTA has a very pessimistic outlook on the world.
Yes.
And one that like is hard to exist in for me for very long, right? It's something that I was very interested in when I was younger, but as I get older, I just find it really challenging to be in that world because everybody's like just fucked, everybody's terrible to each other. And like, it's a video game, so sure, maybe, but I find this a much easier place to exist in a video game.
There's some toxicity in Grand Theft Auto, for sure.
For sure, yeah. And like, I am also a person who I know how to turn my brain off sometimes and just play the fucking video game. But I find that much easier in like, I don't know, something like Slay the Spire or something where it's just like it's a mechanical turn my brain off rather than like I have to look over the beliefs that are in this game and that are kind of supporting it, Yeah. But this one is not that case. I find it really joyful and really cool to see just exactly how everything is playing out. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a really good game. Runs good, looks good.
Runs good, looks good.
It's huge. The video game is very big and long. So like if you're worried about not getting enough out of it, don't. There's plenty of video game in here. Yeah, the only other thing I did want to mention is that like it was bizarre to play this game because I really like the English voice actor for Ichiban. I think he does such a good job, but I have really only heard Kiryu in Japanese because like most of those earlier Yakuza games only really came with Japanese. And so it's very strange to hear like a English voice actor.
English Kiryu. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It really changes how the character feels when you get that.
Yeah, he does. And so I wonder if people who are like really big time Yakuza fans would be able to like figure that out or like find which one works better. But for my money, once you get used to it, like the voice actor who does him is doing a great job. So I'm sure either Japanese or English voice cast would like work really good.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing a lot of, and I will continue to play it. I would really love to see the end of this game because it does feel like, as we've said before, it's capital S saying something.
Yeah.
And I want to see what that is. I want to kind of see how these characters evolve and where they get to by the end of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Good video
stuff.
game.
I love that he's just a happy guy. It's just like trying to do good things.
He's so good. Yeah, like I also like shonen anime, so it's not surprised that I would really like him, but I also think that he's just like he is grounded enough that it doesn't feel like just this kind of blubbering weird dude who's like I'm going to do the right thing all the time. he's like, he feels real in a way that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Much closer to Goku than to, My Hero Academia or something like that.
Sure. He's not thinking too hard about what it means to be doing good. He's just like, I'm just going to do good.
He's very head empty. He's not really considering like how I should or shouldn't act. This is natural to him. Mm-hmm. And like, he's just like, yeah, I'm totally committed to being the way that I am. So that's what I have to do. Like, barring my own safety, it's fine. I'll do whatever. And even then, sometimes like, fuck it. I'll just go throw myself into this dangerous situation because like someone's in danger or like someone isn't getting what they deserve or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good, man. Cool. Yeah. Having a great time. I want to see what the rest of the game holds.
Nice.
The other game that I've been playing, David, is this game called Enshrouded is the video game.
Okay. Nice.
This is a early access game that I heard on the Besties podcast. Griffin had brought this up almost in passing, and I was like, hey, that sounds like a cool game. It was like this sort of like survival game with a little bit of like Dark Souls combat. And I was like, I like that. I like the idea of that. And I had also seen, I think, a preview on like Steam or something like that way back when. And I was interested. Like it looked interesting.
Yeah.
And so I got it. It came out like fully in early access recently. I was like, yeah, I will definitely pick this up and check it out. This game is very good.
Okay.
I was not expecting it to be this good. As promised. So it is this game made by Keen Games, and the survival genre, I think the contemporaries you can think about are things like Valheim or Rust or The Forest or something like that.
Sure.
And like in a way to Minecraft, like that's one of the first ones,
absolutely,
right, of this kind of survival genre. And even something like Subnautica is in this genre.
Pal World.
Yes. Yeah. Like genuinely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's in there. And I would say most of these games don't hook me in a way that I'm like really interested in, except for the ones that do. And then I like fully fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I think Subnautica is like the notable example for me of like a game that is interested in survival, but also I was like very, very into. I tried Valheim and like just wasn't really crazy about it. I didn't feel the pull to go back there. I think a lot of my own resistance to that is a lot of those games are like wildly mechanically dense. Like there's just so much shit that you need to learn or figure out how to do that I don't know if I just don't have the like video game language to like translate from one video game to another, like the common stuff that's in any of those genres. But yeah, it's really hit or miss for me sometimes what any of those games are doing.
Sure.
But like I said, I really like the ones that hit. Yeah. And so I'm always kind of looking for like, is this going to be the one? Am I going to be interested in this?
Am I going to be playing this for another 100 hours?
Right. Yeah. Because it is like, I do enjoy these like kind of hugely mechanical experiences from time to time where I can just kind of like play the game and that's it. But yeah, so I fired this one up and was like, okay, I hope that this is going to be something that I'm into. And sure enough, it is. It is definitely a survival game. You definitely have to chop down trees to make a house and hit enough rocks to make different parts of a house or a crafting table or something like that. But as promised, it does have a lot of FromSoft in it. I think that the easiest comparison is that the combat is kind of similar. Like it's fairly heavy.
Sure.
And it's not super forgiving. Like you can't just go up and hit somebody and have that be the way that you engage with combat. You do have to do a fair bit of like dodge rolling and reading your opponent and making sure that like you are not getting hit very often, which is like hard, but I wouldn't say it is nearly as hard as almost any FromSoft game. Like it's definitely more forgiving than that.
Sure.
But I think it is on that scale of challenge, just not quite as far as FromSoft takes it, but it is there, right? You do have to be considerate of how to fight the enemies. So all that's there, but I think just the deeper connection that they have to FromSoft, and I think specifically Elden Ring is the closest thing that I can see, because the game starts and you kind of just have this like very simple introduction of like, all right, I woke up from this weird place, kind of, reminds me a little bit of Breath of the Wild, right? And they lead you through a cave where it's like, here's how to hit shit. Here's how to use a torch. Here is how to craft like a bandage for yourself. And they also introduce you to this mechanic called the Shroud. Okay. Which is this area that is like kind of cloaked in mist.
Spooky.
And a little spooky, right? I think it is a very FromSoft concept, the Shroud. And essentially what it is that anytime you are in this area that is covered in Shroud, it starts a timer at the top of the game. And it's like, hey, you got 5 minutes to not be in Shroud.
Oh.
Or you die.
Or you die. Whoa.
Or you die.
Is it kind of like in Fortnite when you get when the map shrinks, you have to like go somewhere?
A little bit, yeah. It's not as dynamic as the Fortnite one because a lot of the places that are covered in Shroud they're defined by the game. Like the game is very authored as far as like the map goes. It is not like a procedurally generated map. But whenever you get down into this area, it kind of starts a timer, yada yada yada. But the first time you go through it, it's like very easy to get through the Shroud, right? Yeah. Like you're probably through that area in 30 seconds and you come out of it and your timer immediately pops back up and you're fine. It's not like chipping away at your health. It's just this other timer that is slowly counting down.
Gotcha.
But what it does introduce you to is that like you will need to balance this at some point, that there will be places where it is dangerous for you to be there, but you will have to figure out how to navigate them in a timely manner. You then sort of like pop out of this area and it's the first kind of clearing that you get to where it's like, all right, here's where you can build a base, right? Pick a spot, pick a base and, build it up, which is again, pretty traditional base building stuff. You have this in Subnautica too, where it's like, you should probably pick a spot to be your kind of base of operations. And so you can do that here. It's really cool. It's really fun. I think it is simple enough while still having depth present to still really be like a thrill to be like, all right, cool. I built my house. I have a place where the monsters aren't going to fuck me up if I try to sleep.
Millennial's dream. I have a house.
I have a house and I didn't have to pay a 6.5 interest rate for it. Oh, man. I just built it.
I should do a Kirby game like this.
Kirby gets a house.
Kirby gets a house.
Millennial Kirby comes back. Rears his ugly head once again. Rears his skinny jeans once again.
Skinny jeans once again, they're back.
So yeah, it offers you this place to build your base, which is all very cool. And then very smartly, the next like area of the map that you look at, it very much does the Elden Ring thing where you can see very far. There are a lot of areas you can see that you could probably get to, but the game is split up into this topography where like you see highland areas like the ones that you're standing on currently, but there are a lot of valleys between them. And a lot of those valleys are covered in Shroud, right? So it becomes this very cool push and pull of like, I want to go down in there to get the cool shit that is definitely in there, right? Like once you go down into the Shroud, it's immediately clear that like there was probably an abandoned civilization that lived down here. There's a bunch of stuff for me to collect that would help me build better armor or tools or anything like that. But I have to be careful because there's way more enemies down here and I have to watch that timer, right? And so it is such a fun push and pull of like, I see so many cool things off in the horizon that I want to go check out and like just visually are interesting, right? Like I think that in something like Subnautica, that happens every now and then where you enter kind of a new biome and you're like, oh God, what is this area, right? What is going on in here? The depth suddenly has become much larger and I can go down to different areas and do different shit. And this one is doing a similar thing that it's compelling. I'm really entranced to go look and find other shit. The game very explicitly gives you like quests and things that you can go do and map markers to check out.
Yeah.
And the map is very cool. It's all this, again, it's very fog of war-y, like you barely can see any part of where you're at. And so it is enticing in the way that Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild are, where I am compelled by the world. Like just the visuals of the world are enough for me to be like, hey, I want to go check out what's going on out there, which is a very hard thing to do. And B, I don't really know that I've seen that done outside of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Elden Ring. Like that's pretty much it as far as
it's pretty unique.
The list of, it is very unique. And so to see it applied to this survival genre, I think is really cool. Like I am pretty shocked at the level of quality that the world has and the world building in this game that like, it says it's in early access, but like the game feels exceptionally polished already.
Sure.
Like I think the stuff that I find in early access that sometimes turns me away is the lack of story content, the lack of polish on like the UI and shit. But this one is like, it feels great. It is definitely taking some influence from Breath of the Wild as far as like the UI goes and sort of just the feel, the user experience of the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's doing it really well. Like I'm very surprised that like this is what they call early access. I'm sure they're going to add a bunch of shit, but I have played it for a long time and have not hit like any sort of like game breaking bugs or any parts that's like, hey, this is a work in progress, come back later. Not to mention, there's fucking like skill tree in this game, which is very cool. Not something I was expecting at all. Like feels very well thought out and cool. And this is a game that you can play with like a lot of people. So I would be interested in, what does a 12-person game of this game look like? And everybody's able to kind of like spec a little bit of like, I want to be a ranger, or I want to be a warrior, or I want to be a mage. Their magic system is very cool in this game, and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. I am really impressed with this game.
Sounds like it.
I think that it is a hard thing to be compared to some of the best games that have come out in the last 5 years.
Yeah, the ones you've been talking about in comparison to it are some pretty lofty titles.
Yes, yeah. And I think that you could, in a kind of, I don't know, pessimistic read of this game, it can sound a little bit like a bad game pitch, like,
dude, what if there was Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring and like Minecraft in the same game?
It sounds bad. Like that doesn't sound like a thing that would actually be cohesive, but I think they've done the work on the world building to actually make that something that is possible. I think that they've really done a lot of really good stuff here. And I also think that they have taken a lot of the very sparse lore building that the FromSoft games have. Like the world is largely uninhabited. And also you mostly just find like little notes left around that do not tell you a direct story. It is much more like references to things or places that you do not know about.
Sure.
Which is cool. It's nice to see that they're able to have their own sort of twist on the kind of airy storytelling that a lot of the FromSoft games have, where it's like you're just getting vibes a lot of the time. It's awesome. I think that they have done a really admirable job with a lot of this stuff.
Sure.
Into the Aether really frequently talks about how games seem to take some of the wrong lessons from FromSoft games. Like, they mentioned bonfires and fog walls a lot of the time. Of like, a game will have those and think like, yeah, we're a FromSoft game. And it's much harder to look at like, how does the world building serve this game? Or how does the literal physical act of like putting a mountain this far away with an obstacle in the middle and like some scary noises in the background. Like, how do you build a game like that to the point where it all is cohesive and works and entices the player, right?
Yeah.
Because this game doesn't have fog walls. It doesn't have bonfires.
Yeah.
It has a fire for sure, but that's something that you choose where to build. So like it kind of loops back in on the survival part of these games in a way that I think is like really satisfying. I think they've done... Cool. Yeah, they've done a great job making those two things mesh in a way that actually makes a lot of sense. Very interested in what this game looks like with like more than one person, but I'll also say like I'm having a great time on my own too. Yeah. Like this game is very playable if you're just looking for like a solo experience. So either one is like very possible. Yeah, it's great. I'm really surprised by this. I not that I would love to have more complaints, but I feel like I'm just kind of
gushing.
Telling you all the cool. Yeah, I'm gushing about it in a way that I'm surprised to have had that experience. I will say I absolutely have to very consistently switch my control scheme in this game. Meaning whenever I'm building a base, I do it with my mouse and keyboard because it's so hard to do that. And then I just pick up my controller whenever I want to fight someone because I'm like totally inept at playing a FromSoft game on a keyboard.
I could not imagine doing that.
Just simply cannot. So
that's extra hard mode.
Yeah, for real. It sort of works because the game is very merciful with like, if you just start playing with the other controller, it's like, yeah, I got you. It's fine. Like you can just start playing. You don't have to go into the options and switch something, which is, it's great. It's good for me, a person who like only kind of knows how to play computer games with my hands in certain mechanical experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that's Enshrouded. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's worth a look. It's also kind of exploding right now, so it's totally possible that like you listener have heard about this game already. It's got a lot of interest on Steam, and like the sheer number of Steam reviews kind of is a testament to how popular it is right now. But I had certainly almost missed it. So if any of that sounds interesting, it's worth a look. It's also like it's also very good looking. Like it runs at 60 frames a second on my computer and looks beautiful. So like, I don't know, man, what do you want? It's good. It's a good video game.
What more do you want from me?
I'm telling you, it's good.
It's a good game.
You get to swing a sword and build a house, and there's kind of spooky vibes, and there's a glider too. You can glide. It's cool.
It's got everything.
It's got everything you want. Just nobody to kiss, which is always a tragedy, but you know.
No dating sim. No Tinder dating sim in this one?
No, there's no Tinder dating sim. It's, can't win them all.
Sure can't.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
It is this bananas preview for Death Stranding 2 that we have recently been gifted.
Oh, yeah.
What in the world is going on in this video game?
I mean, they did it again. That's what we all thought when we saw the first preview for the original Death Stranding.
I know.
Just like, what is happening? And yeah, he's back at it.
I'm seeing it, man. This is going to come off in a way that I think I don't intend it to, but I think parts of Death Stranding 1 felt like there was a little bit a less of some wackiness that I expect from Hideo and like that team. And like, it's there for sure in that game. I think if you played a lot of it, you would be hard pressed to be like, I don't feel the influence of Hideo here, but comparing it to some of the nuts shit that we got in other video games, like some of it is pared back. It's like a more serious game than some of the wild shit that was happening in like even Metal Gear Solid 2. But hey, nope, it's back. We got a weird little talking puppet that is animated in like 6 frames a second or something. We got Troy Baker playing this weird Joker rock star man that shoots laser beams out of an electric guitar. Like, what is going on?
I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's amazing. It's all very good. And so like I'm just fully entranced. I have no idea what this game is doing story-wise. Like a lot of stuff seemed pretty final about the last game. So how did we get here? But I'm all in, man. I'm very excited for whatever we got going on.
2 Death, 2 Stranding. We're at it.
2 Death, 2 Stranding. I'm here. I'm ready. David, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism?
I do. It's a good deck building roguelike, Chase.
Oh man, you were preaching to the choir.
I know. I thought you'd be happy with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about your love for this genre, David.
It scratches an itch that only it can scratch.
That's true.
Probably my first experience with this type of game was tabletop version was Dominion. I don't know if anyone else has played that game. A very fun game. Always loved it. Always wanted more of Dominion because it's just there's something about when you get a good deck going, you just feel so powerful. And you feel also very smart because you are the one who crafted that deck, which is always a great feeling. Everyone loves to feel smart, right?
Love to feel like a genius.
And I also love picking new cards because then you really have to make some interesting decisions of like, what could this card do for me? What could the possibilities be with this card, with this totem, with whatever it is that you're trying to do? Just lots of very fun, interesting decisions you can make. And almost always they result in something that is going to make your deck more powerful, but whether or not it's actually something that is powerful in a good way is up to how you've crafted the deck in the first place.
Yeah.
So just lots of great decisions to be made, lots of great questions that you have to ask yourself about what you are trying to do with this deck. And if you just go in like wheelin' dealin', you're probably going to get stomped. Actually, you most definitely are going to get stomped pretty much every time. You got to really think.
Yeah.
So it hits this nice middle ground of really engaging my brain, but not having to engage my motor cortex quite as much to dodge and parry and block the way I need to in like a Dark Souls type of game. Because I think the flow state that it gets me in decision making is very similar to like a FromSoft game or a Lies of P or an Enshrouded, but in a very much more cerebral, like wholly cerebral way, as opposed to brain and hands talking to each other, which is a different and I think overall more engaging experience in the moment, but also a much more tiring and stressful experience in the moment.
Sure.
So it's just a nice way to scratch that itch of something that is challenging and feels like something that I want to spend my time doing as far as like just mechanically speaking, but being also mindful of my own energy levels at the end of the day. So
sure. Yeah, totally. I definitely have a preference to play deck building roguelikes at nighttime when my brain is winding down.
It's like a little brain massage.
Yeah, totally.
Feels good.
Video games, man.
Video games.
So good. Well, hey, do you want to move on to our main thing?
Let's do it.
Welcome to Good Games.
I'm still chomping.
Not welcome to Good Games. Get out. We don't want you here yet.
Come back in 1 minute.
David's eating. Wait.
It's a delicious citrus.
Ooh, what do you got?
Satsuma.
Oh, what is this? I don't think I know what satsuma is.
It's like a tangerine. But it's known for being very peelable. An easy peeler.
Love an easy peeler, gotta say.
It just wants to jump out of that peel at you.
Sometimes like when I'm fucking around with an orange and I'm just getting like one tiny little like nail full of orange each time I try and peel that thing.
Yeah.
God.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
It's like, yeah, I like the way an orange smells, but I don't know if I want that under my fingernails all the time.
No, you really get the oils under there. It's a very intense smell.
Yeah.
And the worst is like if you're trying to peel it, but then you push too hard and you start to make the juice come out, and then you got juice on your fingers with the oil, and then it's all intense oil flavor, but also sticky. Ugh, it's the worst. Citrus, man. It's a bummer sometimes.
It can be tough. Yeah, you really got to be careful with it. I feel like that's why little tangerine, a lot easier.
Absolutely.
A lot easier to peel.
Yep. Tangerine supremacy.
They are good. I feel like the size of them is what I want when I like reach for a citrusy fruit, you know? An orange is kind of a lot.
And
those are big bastards sometimes.
An orange is a lot. I can't deal with a whole orange most of the time.
Yeah. It's a pretty intense experience. I kind of just need like a little guy, you know?
The little guys again.
A weird little guy. A tangerine is definitely a weird little guy.
It's a weird little guy at the citrus world for sure.
Absolutely.
That and a citron. Although citrons I think are kind of big. I don't know if they're small. Otherwise they'd be for sure the weird little guy.
Grapefruit's way too big to be a weird little guy.
Oh yeah. That's a behemoth.
That is a behemoth. Finger lime is a pretty weird little guy.
Ooh, that's not finger limes are weird.
That is not the shape that I expect a lime to come in.
And then they have the insides, which is like caviar.
Yes. Yeah.
Very weird one. That's a top contender.
That might rise to beyond a weird little guy.
That's a fucking
freak.
Yeah, that's something else.
That's a citrus freak.
That's a different guy. Well, kaffir lime though, the texture on the outside of those guys all bumpy and stuff.
The bumpy lime.
About that. Yeah, the bumpy lime. Bimpy lime. Are you finished with your fruit?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. Back again with a listener suggestion.
Yes.
It was thematically appropriate after we covered the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Falsebound Kingdom because it was a genre that I had never really engaged with, but apparently it's also connected to this game called Ogre Battle 64.
Ooh.
Which is the game that we played.
Yeah.
The way that you said "ooh" kind of jump scared me.
Oh, you didn't expect me to ooh.
It made it sound like you're like, oh, a game that I have not played.
Oh, that was like, the wrong one. I actually played Ogre Battle 64 too.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's that one's the deck building roguelike. I would would play that.
You would definitely play that.
But yeah, they're like kind of similar games, and so I thought we'd do that. This one was suggested to us by listener Dave C. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Strong name.
Strong name, yeah. Getting a double dose of Dave today.
The double D dose?
I mean, I need vitamin D.
Is this a triple D dose for you today?
This might be a triple D. Yeah, ooh. I'm getting so much vitamin Dave today.
You smell grease in the background right now because you might have summoned Guy Fieri to your home.
And this is triple D. Dave, and vitamin D.
Yugs Fieri himself is there.
Yeah, no, he's lurking. Hey, before we go too far, can I hit you with some hot stats about Ogre Battle 64, Dave?
Please.
Hot stats.
So this game came out October 6th of 2000 in North America and July 14th, 1999 in Japan. So a little over a year between those two.
Yep.
This was made by the Quest Corporation, which you will, of course, know from their hits as Battle Ping Pong, Magical Chase. Love that.
Whoa, okay.
And the other ogre games. There are sort of two series of games.
There's a lot of ogre games.
Yes, there's Ogre Battle, which kind of represents this kind of game, and then Tactics Ogre as well, which is the sort of spiritual predecessor to Final Fantasy Tactics. It's like one of the producers or designers went from the Quest Corporation after building the Tactics Ogre game to build Final Fantasy Tactics. So it's got that like the topography is really important.
So it's the spiritual predecessor?
Yes, it came before it.
Whoa, okay, cool.
So yeah, some DNA there, some Square DNA. I do have a review from our friends at Joat Video of Ogre Battle 64. I took their review, ran it through Google Translate a number of times, one language into another, to just, fuck it up real good, which I'll read for you now.
Hell yeah.
Ogre Man 64, Man of God Caliber, is the best game on the market, but it was abandoned in space. Due to its high price, Virtual Console was released in March 2010 without a Frenchman. But it is still worth a try because once you enter, you can't leave.
Whoa.
And they gave that a 17 out of 20.
Okay.
I hate when my games drop without a Frenchman, dude.
I was about to say, the lack of a Frenchman is really the worst thing about this game.
Modern game design, dude. When they say lazy devs, they're just saying there's no Frenchmen.
Where did all the Frenchmen go? Where are they?
Where's my French Joel? Where's my French Mario? Where's my French Sonic?
We just need Michel Ancel in all games now.
Where's my Jean Reno in every single video game other than Onimusha 3?
Right. He's got to be in another game. He's got to be. He's got to be.
What's your guess? If he is in another one, what else do you think he's been in?
Soul Calibur.
Oh my God. David, you and I both played Soul Calibur. Can you imagine if Jean Reno was just in that
He's
video
just a character.
game?
He can be Darth Vader or Jean Reno.
Two souls intertwined in a battle for life. One of them, an ancient swordsman. The other, just Jean Reno.
Was it just like Jean Reno as Jean Reno, or Jean Reno as like a character from one of his movies?
No, just him. It's the actor. Yeah.
Just chain smoking out there. His weapon is his cigarette.
David, as it turns out, Jean Reno was in 2 video games.
Besides Onimusha?
Including Onimusha.
So he's been in one other game.
He's been in one other game.
Resident Evil. I don't know.
It is in fact called Le Visiteur le Jeu.
Excuse me? Is that Jean Reno on the right?
He's on the cover. He's in this video game.
What is this? Who's the other guy? It's Ubisoft.
It is Ubisoft, yeah. Apparently came out in 1998 on Windows. This may be something we have to play. This looks like absolute dump. This game does not look good.
It's giving me big Monty Python vibes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. David, what is Ogre Battle 64?
How did we get to Jean Reno? Anyways.
Really fell down that hole for a second there.
Really fell down that hole. So Ogre Battle 64 is a real-time strategy tactics style game in the vein of a Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess a Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in the vein of this game, actually.
Yes, yeah.
So you control a character on a large map with different points of interest that you can send them to, usually some sort of fort. And you can do that with several different characters as well. So you can send them all off into different directions to fight different battles. And they take time to walk there. And it will, sometimes they'll get tired and they'll set up a tent. If they take over a place like a fort and rest there, they regain their health, right, from the battle. And each unit has a commander who you see their sprite of on the screen when they're walking around to go to different areas. But they have like a little battalion of people as well to fight with them. So you have this overworld that has all these points of interest, and you send your units into different spots, right? But then the battles are, not even, you don't even really attack or anything. It just goes into the battle, and you can kind of say, okay, I want to attack the strongest enemy, the weakest enemy, or anywhere in between.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of back and forth, and just based off of your stats, you either win or you lose, and you can have multiple battles between groups of people and an enemy, right? So it's this kind of tug of war, and you push them away if you win, and kind of take their spot, but they'll come back at you and fight you again, and they can push you away again if they beat you the next time. So it's this interesting, not really battles of attrition, but battles of very much space.
Yeah.
You're trying to control space on this map by effectively distributing your troops to different areas. So yeah, very similar to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Pretty much the same as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. But a little better UI in this one, I think.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, very, very spiritually connected video games, all things considered.
Yes.
Like the RTS genre, I find, is a lot easier to find on PC or like mouse and keyboard games. So the console versions, I feel like all have a similar kind of DNA in them. It's
an interesting way of doing a RTS game for a console, right? It makes sense when you think about it, but it definitely does not feel like a StarCraft game.
No, yeah, the pace of it is much different.
Yeah, there's the pace is different, and there's no resource management really, besides your troop health essentially.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, no, that's it. How'd you feel about this one, David?
I liked this one a little bit more than the Yu-Gi-Oh! One. I think I was not prepared for the Yu-Gi-Oh! One at all for such a different experience, and I didn't really grok it. But after playing that one and then going into this one, the DNA is so similar that I understood this one more readily. Didn't have to have so much time learning new rules to get to, the fun part. And I also took your advice and I ramped that emulator up pretty high. Because they still do walk quite slow around the map.
Yes. Yeah.
And this one also had a in-game setting to increase the speed of the characters as well, which I appreciated.
Yes, yeah.
So you could really get going pretty darn quick in this one. But I think I talked about it earlier. I think the UI in this one was a little bit better. The sprites popped off the screen a little bit more. It wasn't so kind of muddy looking. So you could kind of understand a little bit more where your character was and what they were doing and how to control them and what commands you were giving them, as opposed to the Yu-Gi-Oh game, which left a little bit more to the imagination sometimes. But now that I get how to play these games, I would be curious to go back and play that Yu-Gi-Oh game and see if I can get to the part where it's more enjoyable for me.
Sure.
So it was hard to get to that one for the Yu-Gi-Oh for the first time. But I did find myself enjoying this, and maybe it's that I also just love swords and sorcery, like high fantasy stuff, and it definitely has a pretty large story it is trying to tell in this game. There's a lot going on.
There is.
It is a long game, it seems, as well.
Yeah.
Quite lengthy. So it has this epicness to it, which keeps me going as well. And a lot of interesting characters, pretty basic characters, but fun nonetheless.
Yeah, they're definitely present. It's like not the same thing, but in the vein of an Octopath where like I understand the archetypes we're going with here, but like it is fun to be around these people.
They're archetypes because they're tried and true, Yeah. You got the Mr. Good Man always does right guy, and then the old teacher and grumpy companion / rival.
Such a shithead. That companion is so bad.
Dio.
Yes, Dio. Yeah, no, pretty much the villain.
But yeah, it was good characters. Good characters. They're fun.
Yeah,
silly,
for sure.
Simple, but gives it enough flavor to make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you. The emulator speed really does make the game a lot easier to play.
Yeah.
I think I was playing like a double speed most of the time, because even then it doesn't feel like I'm having to like whip my characters around or anything. Like you definitely can still have plenty of time to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
It gets, I guess, a little bit more complicated when you're starting to deal out like a ton of different units, but even then it's pretty easy to just like, grab one of them and move them where you need them to go.
Yeah.
I really did not play this game correctly the first time that I booted it up. I saw that the like one dude that you start with, I think Magnus is the standard name of the character that you get put in there as. I had assumed that like, oh, they're teaching me how to play the game. This is my only guy that I have. And so I fought that whole battle with just him and his team the first time, and definitely got killed at the boss. And I was like, I don't feel like I really messed up that badly. Like, how does this game expect me to play it?
Yeah.
And then did two things. One, pulled up a Let's Play because I was like, surely I'm doing something wrong. And then got to the like point where they're like, okay, here's the first level. And they had like 8 different squads rolling around the map. I'm like, okay, I see my issue here.
Yes. Got to get all the homies.
Yeah. Essentially, you just have to like start dispatching squads from the like main castle that you have. So there's like a bunch of units moving around, which also answers the question of like, initially I was like, how do I beat these units? Because whenever I chase after them, they just run away.
They sure do. It's becomes this a really very slow chase.
Yeah. And so you need another unit to kind of like
pincer move.
Yeah. You need to connect with them to beat them. So that answered that question. But then also something that I feel like I've said before, but haven't taken a lot of action on recently is I'll say like, oh, this game must have had a big manual. And then at the same time realized those exist on the internet. I should just go look at it.
Yeah.
Sure enough, the like 40-page manual for this game is very detailed about how to play the game.
Dang.
And so I think that, again, it was just an era where they were relying on you having a manual and reading through it.
They expected you to just read the manual. Yeah.
Yeah, like to understand like what is going on in the game, because there is a lot of shit in there. And as much as I agree that like the UI is better in this one, it's more clear like what each of the buttons do.
Yeah.
I still didn't know that I had to dispatch more than one person,
I only knew because I was just started pressing buttons.
That's a good idea, to be fair. But yeah, played it wrong the first time, had a much better time the second go through, and then, obviously got farther than the time I was trying to solo every fight that I had.
Did you at least get them like really leveled up?
I mean, the first time I went through, no, because I died.
Oh, sure.
But the second time I was still like fairly choosy with who I was sending out there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they definitely leveled up a lot. So yeah, I like this game a lot. I think this is really good. I love this approach at the genre. Mm-hmm. Like RTS is something that can feel very intimidating to get into. There's so much knowledge that you need and so much like just understanding of the genre to know what to do. And I think simplifying it like you have here and then also in the Yu-Gi-Oh game, like it is so cool. That presents such a cool way to play these games and just something that I'm totally unfamiliar with. So it's bizarre to see these at the same time, coming out around the same time. Obviously, like the RTS genre is full of games, but a lot of them do not try to simplify the games that they're playing or, make them for a console. Mm-hmm. Matt from Can't Let It Go chimed in our Discord chat that, or are we preparing for Unicorn Overlord, which is a game that I didn't know what that was.
I was recommended this game when I went to GameStop to buy Octopath Traveler 2. And they're like, if you like that one, Unicorn Overlord. After they told me that I'm a man of taste after buying Octopath Traveler 2.
I understand the connection there because it's definitely doing the like 2.5D visual style, but it's definitely doing the RTS on a console thing. It looks really interesting. I'm like very interested in what's going on here.
Is that out yet?
No, comes out in March.
Okay.
I will for sure be picking this up to kind of round out the experience of playing these games this year. But yeah, I was really impressed. I thought this game was great.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think that the story is really interesting and like is doing enough that I'm like, what's going on with this rebellion? Why do I work for the kingdom and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Like that's cool. That's
the rebellion people seem much cooler than the kingdom people.
Yes. Yeah. Why is that? What's going on there? Mm-hmm. So all that's very good. It is, about as deep as an N64 game goes, right? Like it's not groundbreaking, but I think that the RPG or the number of RPGs on the N64 was just like not super high. I feel like that didn't kind of come back around until like the PS2 era. And I guess I should say there's plenty of RPGs on PS1. The N64 just like didn't get a lot of them other than, like the Mario RPGs and shit. And that's something that Dave had actually mentioned too. Mm-hmm. I had asked him like, what were your feelings about this game? And he had mentioned like promoting dozens upon dozens of characters across different classes, then commanding them across real-time strategy maps to engage in 5v5 skirmishes tickled just the right part of my adolescent and teenage brain as I was developing my taste for strategy RPGs. Wrapped in a great campaign. In my opinion, Ogre Battle 64 contends for the best RPG on the RPG-starved Nintendo 64. I don't know where my top RPGs. I do actually like Paper Mario quite a bit, so I don't know if that one would do it, but I agree that there's a lot of depth here on a console that isn't always known for its mechanical depth.
Yeah, that controller was weird.
A controller was weird, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell going back and playing some of those games.
3 prongs, 2 hands doesn't work.
God, it's so strange. How did they land on that? Like that being the thing.
Hey, it's iconic though. It is iconic.
It absolutely is. Like I can't deny you there.
Mm-hmm.
What other RPGs were on N64? Quest 64.
I'll think of Cruisin' and Zelda.
I don't know if Cruisin' USA counts.
I'm just saying in general. I just think when I think of N64,
what games?
It's all cruising in there.
A car playing game. CPG.
They should make a car themed RPG.
You got Racing Lagoon, man. That's out there.
That's true. You played that one.
I did. That was very fun. I liked the game a lot. There weren't a lot of RPGs on the N64, were there?
Yeah, I remember a lot of like third person action, a lot of racing games. Sports games, but I don't remember any like actual RPGs like Final Fantasy or anything like that. Yeah.
You got Paper Mario, Harvest Moon, that's an RPG. Ogre Battle 64 is third on this list of best RPGs on the N64. I don't know if I'm going to count Gauntlet Legends as an RPG. That feels very much more like an arcade, like hack and slash game.
Yeah. I mean, you do increase stats.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true.
But it's like a lowbrow RPG.
Let's see. What else about this game? I did find the visual style, like you were saying, a little bit more compelling than what we got on the Yu-Gi-Oh one.
Yeah.
Just like the in-game stuff, right?
Yeah. This pops. This one pops. Vibrant.
Yeah. It feels like it is doing more with like a visual style that's closer to like a Super Mario RPG or something like that, where it looks like there's pre-rendered sort of character models that they're shifting around and stuff. And so it looks more stylized in hindsight, I think. Yeah. Which is cool. I think it looks very good. And especially the like battle layout that they have. I think that looks just like great. I love the way that looks. Yeah. It's essentially this like you view the fight with your people sort of like downhill from the other ones, like on a pre-rendered background, and it like very stylized, looks very good. And it's essentially just like an auto battler whenever you go into a fight. You don't have a lot of choices. As far as like what to do. Like
I said, all you can do is just like tell them how to attack people automatically, which is like attack the strongest, the weakest, or just whatever they want.
I definitely messed around with that, and it seemed to change nothing.
Same. That was my experience as well. Yeah.
They kind of just attacked whoever they wanted to. It wasn't like they focused on one guy more than any other.
They're just like, all right, we're just going to take out all the X smashing that you do in these games and just let it play out.
Which honestly I think is really interesting. I feel like I have not found an auto battler that I'm like crazy about. I tried the Dota auto battler. I forget what that's called offhand, but it's essentially that genre where like you don't engage in specifically choosing what moves to use. It's more of just like set up your team and then let them loose.
Let them go. Yeah.
And so it's cool to see it like all the way back here. You know, I had assumed that was a much more modern genre, but it's here. Like that's definitely what this is. Whenever you attack someone, it's just, you kind of just watch them do it. Again, another very great argument for speeding up emulation, because like I don't need that to last. I
don't need to spend too much time in there.
Definitely not. So that is it's cool. But yeah, it's I loved whenever this game, like essentially when you got to any of the end of the levels, and it's like all of your plans kind of came together of like, you know, charging into a castle with like 5 enemies. You use the first one, they typically will not beat the enemy the first time, and then you just kind of like keep pinging off this castle. It feels good. I think that's a really like fun loop that this game has.
It feels more siegey.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Like you're really sieging this castle, and it's hard to take.
Yes, yeah, which again, it makes it feel significant whenever you do take it. Love that. I also love that like there's oftentimes you will either be able to enter into cities and like talk to people or like just find items out in the wild.
Yeah. So like, oh, here's a mace. Cool. Oh, here's like a leather shield. Cool. Just walking around.
Totally. It feels kind of like Fire Emblem in that way, where sometimes you will come up to a map and there's like an open door that you can go just be like, hey, what's your deal, to whoever's in there.
Yeah. And I like that your units have stamina. So like if you send them halfway across the map, they have to be like, I'm tired, and then rest in a camp for a bit. But it really sucked when I sent a unit to go and intercept another enemy, and they decided that they wanted to go into camp like right before hitting the enemy, and then they got surprised and they're all asleep, and they just got like demolished by the enemy.
Oh yeah, because when you fight somebody in camp, they like can't really fight back. Is that correct?
Yeah. They get surprised essentially. So that was a brutal thing to figure out, but probably is in the manual, which I did not have.
Yeah, I bet there's something in there for figuring out like how far away from needing to sleep your characters are, but
yeah, there's probably some stamina meter
somewhere. Yeah. Again, why I'm so interested in this Unicorn Overlord game, because like I just am interested if they can streamline a bunch of that stuff. Because I bet you could. Like
there's so many quality of life upgrades you could do.
Yeah. Especially since 24 years ago at this point. Like we have figured out a lot of how to do user interface design on consoles that makes sense, rather than just like trying to port over exactly what it would be like on a computer and then trying to map that onto a controller. Like that's tough. So I am interested in how they approach that. Because UI on N64 is tough sometimes.
Sure is.
Doesn't always look great.
Sure is. Yeah.
That could be cool. I want to play that game. I hope it's good.
I've heard a lot of things about it since I got recommended it at GameStop that one time. Yeah. So I'm very interested.
It was a very important trip to GameStop you took.
That was a big moment for me. That was a big moment for me as a gamer and as a man.
Wow. Yeah.
Figure some things out.
It's a magical place.
GameStop, Paseo Nuevo, Santa Barbara. That's where it's at.
I spent a lot of time in GameStop as a kid. I was there constantly, man.
I mean, it was a wonderland. That and EB Games.
Ooh, yeah.
Or absolutely. Funko Games.
I loved Funko Land. I fucked with Funko Land so much.
Ooh, so good.
I hate to say it, but the stink of those places was really kind to me. I really loved the smell of a video game store. It's
the
so
stink,
specific.
as in like the bad smell, or just the smell in general?
The smell of new video games.
Mm-hmm. It's something that a whole generation of children probably know nothing about.
No, why would you?
Yeah, they downloaded Fortnite right to their console, and they're, what is it, V-Bucks from Walmart.
Only know the stink of Walmart, which is a different beast entirely.
A different stink. That's a stink you don't want stunk.
No shade, because like I'm sure that's more efficient.
Oh, absolutely. It's just there is a wistful nostalgia I have for that thing, and I'm oh wow, it's one of those moments you just realize, hey, I'm kind of old now, and this experience is something that people aren't experiencing when I experienced that.
Yeah, holds about as much importance as like our grandparents talking about cruising around.
Oh yeah,
in
just
their
go
cars
cruise
or
out of
something.
my car. Gas was half a cent for a gallon.
Dude, that I would love a little bit of. Not to go like full boomer on Maine right now, but it would be so sick if it was that cheap. Anyway.
It's that damn Joe Biden.
It's that damn Jean Renault not making these gas prices lower, man.
It's all him. It's all him.
It all comes back to Reno. Jean Reno.
Jean Reno. Isn't that a character? Isn't that a card from Hearthstone?
Jean Reno? Maybe. It could be, huh?
That's Reno Jackson, that was it.
Jeans Reno.
Jeans Reno. Buy all your jeans here at Jeans Reno.
Come down to Crazy Jean Renault's Jeans Emporium, where we got nothing but jeans.
You can't say no to these jeans.
You can't say Reno to these Genos.
Oh, man.
We got big jeans, little jeans, wide jeans, thin jeans.
But no skinny jeans. If you want those, go to Kirby's Jean Emporium across the street.
Yeah, that's the Gap by Kirby. Sorry. Jean Reno only serves Jinko's big, wide jeans here at Jean Reno's Jean Emporium.
You could drive a truck through these jeans.
So much width in these legs, man. Absolutely not tapered. They're just as wide as your hips.
If there's a gust of wind, sayonara, you're off.
See you later. That is a sale. That is a different emporium for Jean Reno's sales, boat sales.
It's actually just jeans, but a sale.
I don't know that denim would make for a particularly efficient sale. That would probably suck, huh?
The Canadian boat.
Yeah, the Canadian tuxedo boat.
Yeah.
Very heavy material, the denim.
But think how cool you'd look.
But think how cool Jean Reno would look sailing up to you in an all denim boat.
Even the boat is denim?
Oh, the whole thing, man.
My God, is denim buoyant?
This denim is very.
It's
That's
waterproof denim.
Special brand of denim. What's wrong, babe? You've barely touched your joat.
Joat?
Your jean boat?
My goodness. This is really derailed. Jean Reno. It was Al Pacino last week. It's Jean Reno this week.
There's always some specter just sort of lurking in the background.
Yeah, what celebrity is going to infest our podcast next week?
It really does feel like we point at one of them in the shadows whenever we make this. There's one guy back there. And it's just a process of feeling around in the dark to see who it is this
Red
week.
Red Rover. Send Jean Reno right over.
Send Joat over.
Send Joat the boat over.
I love a denim boat. That's fun.
Joat the boat with a stoat, taking a toke.
By Jean Reno. A new bold film, a new vision coming this summer. From the makers of The Visitors comes Joat the Boat, starring Jean Reno.
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno.
Where he reads Death Note.
Okay, now this I like. Now we've crossed over into some cool territory.
It's just Jean Reno streaming himself watching Death Note while on a Jean boat.
I would watch that. Man. That sounds great.
Done.
I want to see how he feels about Death Note.
1 million views.
This Light Megami is a todo shithead. Does not seem to be a good protagonist, despite the fact he is centered at the front of the anime.
Well, he ain't a protagonist.
No, he's kind of a bad guy.
Yeah, it's pretty much huge villain versus gremlin in the first part of that anime.
Yeah, true.
Versus smart golem.
I do love this very scary man who comes to infest this Light Megami. Stand behind him and talk very intimidating. Thanks, Dave C., for your suggestion.
Yeah, thanks,
Ogre
Dave.
Battle 64.
How did we get here? Wow.
I don't know. I have lost the path to where we have walked, David, but here we are anyway.
We're here.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. It was great. If you'd like to interact with us some more, you can go to our website, podtimism.com. You can see all of our old episodes and the beautiful podcast cover art that Chase has made. You can search games to see if we have talked about any games in the past. And you can also make a suggestion for a game for us to do in the future. We might not get to it right away, but we will get to it.
Yeah, true.
That is a Podtimistic promise.
What's going to be really challenging is whenever you and I are like, it's episode 500, we have like 20 games to do, and we just have to like rapid fire do all these games to make good on that promise.
We're just on our deathbed.
Still got 5 more games. Fucking Ikaruga was so sick, dude. It was so good.
That's all. It's like a 30-second podcast. This game was good. I enjoyed it.
I have no complaints.
Goodbye, world.
Also, this week, it's Jean Renault again. He's back.
You thought he was gone. It was 5,000 episodes ago, but he's back. Mr. Jean.
Joat came to kill me.
Joat. I see the Joat outside. It's looming. Coming to take me across the river Styx.
It's the weirdest version of Charon.
The ferryman of the Styx.
Yeah.
It's Jean Renault on Joat.
Oh my God, yeah. What a surprise.
That's why he's watching Death Note. It all comes together.
I'm here to take you from the living world to the underworld.
Yes. Here's your in-flight movie, Death Note, in its entirety.
And this guy is going to tell you his thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
But not just any guy.
Jean Renault. It's Death Note with Jean Renault commentary over it.
Again, I would watch.
I'd watch it. I'd do it. You can also, on our website, find a link to our social media, and probably the most important one is a link to our Discord, which is part of the Worst Garbage podcast network. So come on over there, get in the chat, say hi. It's a good time.
It's a very good time.
It's a good time.
Love to chat about video games in there, which we do often.
The games are there. Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for our beautiful podcast art.
It's very good.
If you would like to commission her for art of your own, you can go to co-fi.com/humblegoat and see if her commissions are open.
Which, as of the time of recording, they are not.
They are not. Sorry, you gotta wait. You gotta wait for quality. That's just the way it is.
It's worth the wait.
Worth the wait.
Yeah.
If you want to help out the podcast, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast. Give it a like, give it a follow, whatever you want to do. We really appreciate it, and we read all the reviews, and they always make us feel so warm and fuzzy on the inside because they've all been very nice so far. One day there's going to be a mean one, and that might sting a little bit, but we're not there yet. But we're feeding off of the positivity of the ones so far, which is great.
Yeah. Full disclosure, it's gonna sting. It's gonna hurt a little bit, but we're modern men, David. We can handle a little pain. We can confide in each other and hug each other when it's hard.
Yeah. I know it's gonna hurt a little bit, and that's gonna be okay. I'm just gonna have to go to Andrew Tate's Twitter and feel good about myself.
Oh my God, dude.
It's going to be the beginning of my turn to the dark side.
Yeah, this is it.
The Cho side.
The one bad podcast review is all it took.
Lastly, thank you, listener, for listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of different things you could be doing with your ears right now, and you choose to listen to us talk about games. So that's very, very special. We do this even if nobody was listening, and it's just pretty incredible that people listen. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We truly very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for the week?
Don't build your boat out of jeans. It's a bad thing to build your boat out of.
Unless they're skinny jeans.
Unless they're Jean Renault's jeans, which are a very special kind of jeans.
What about jeggings?
Oh, jeggings might actually be okay, but then you're contending with like how much microplastic you're willing to deal with on a daily basis.
Sure. I mean, I'm already fucked.
That's the thing, man. Yeah, like it seems like pretty tough to really get out of that in any way, shape, or form.
I ate so many things out of plastic in the 90s, man.
Yeah, just chowing down too. Like I'm putting a lot of toys just directly into my mouth as a kid.
Yeah, toys in my mouth. Pretty much every single like snack pack that I ever loved. Like like, what is it? The Lunchables?
Yeah, Lunchables. Absolute microplastics. All of them.
Dunkaroos, microplastics.
Dunkaroos, Twinkies, Hostess's cupcakes.
Everything wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
It's got that sweet American flavor on it.
That's what it is. It's all the microplastics.
You can taste the processed oil in my body.
Yeah.
But jeans.
Anyway, jeans are a bad material for a boat. Don't build it unless you're Jean Renault, at which point you can build Joat and you will be okay.
Yeah. Gets plus 10 crafting with jeans because his name is Jean.
That's true. That's how it works. I'm very good at pursuing people because of my name.
I don't got nothing.
You got plus 10 Dave.
I got plus 10 Dave, whatever that means. I mean, yeah, I'll take that.
It's intangible. It's not nearly as direct as being good at jeans, but I think that it's gonna pay off really soon in a really major way.
Every now and then I'll feel my perk go off and I'll be like, oh yeah, Dave.
This is my Dave.
This is my Daveness.
Dave is in retrograde right now, and I'm going to come back so strong next month.
You just summon the power of all Daves in the world for like a second.
If all the Daves in the world shouted at the same time, I would really be in awe of the power.
It'd be scary.
It'd be scary, but also kind of intimidating.
The Hive
You're suddenly
Dave
part
mind.
of the Hive Dave is real, man.
Mm-hmm. We are Legion.
All right. See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.